Hi guys, welcome back. And this week we're just going to talk about three things. First will be the use of shorter reps in aerobic training. Okay, big proponent, as people know, of having your heart rates, but there are times where we should be kind of jazzing that up, if that's a word. And then I'm going to talk about someone has coming back into training or into racing after being injured for a while. What do you do on your first race? I think it was a really good question. And then last question was related to someone who wants to go mountain running, like running the mountains once a week. I see this question also with like triathletes. How do you balance things? So we're just going to talk about those three things. And any other questions that come in on the chat, we can answer those as well. So let's go with my first thing that I'm looking to talk about, and that is, I wonder, can I get onto my Instagram here? I'll just go as I'm going. The use of kind of 10K specific, the use of 10K specific work when you are working out. Okay, and what I mean by this is, it was actually my friend Toss Hayes who was kind of talking about it, and I was like, yeah, you're dead right. So I'm coming back, building back into kind of race fitness, and I've been doing a lot of your chunkier work. So people know I like kind of 3 to 5 reps of 7-minute reps of AT, or we might do like 5 to 6 minute reps, or 4 to 6 minute reps of LT, so zone 4, zone 3 running. And that's really good initially because it builds that aerobic base. But what can happen is, if you do too much of that work, you can kind of get stuck at a certain pace. Okay, and especially if you're kind of a neuromuscular type athlete, you kind of want to get that speed. You want that idea that, you know, you're not too far away from like your kind of top end speed. And it got me thinking, when I was getting ready for the 10K, where I broke 30, I was doing like at least one session per week of like 400 meters, kind of 400 meters at like kind of 10K pace or 10K effort. And we also hear, where I was chatting with Toss, was you always hear of like double threshold if you hear about the Ingebrigtsens. So they're the Norwegian guys. They've kind of championed it across a lot of places, but it's this idea of double threshold. So they have threshold in the morning, threshold in the evening. But the threshold in the evening isn't actually, so in the morning they'll do their, now I wouldn't recommend this to anyone who's not an elite runner, just for the time and the intensity of it. But in the morning, they're doing those kind of like, you know, 2K reps, the 7 minutes, the 5-6 minute kind of reps, like we say there. But in the evening, even though their lactates are at the same, so they'll take lactates, or you can look at your heart rate, they'll do that as like 16 by 400 at like 10K pace. But because you're getting a break in between, it's not like 10K effort. Okay, and I went back doing a workout like that this week, and I found it really, really useful. So what I did was, so there's a few ways to do this. Sorry, I'll stay going on about the reasons for it. So I started my zone 3 work is like 5 40-minute miling. So was doing my zone 3 for like, say, 2 miles. Then I did like 10 400s. I could have done 8 by 400 if I wanted. At like kind of what, so my best kind of 10K would be like 71s for 400, but I did them in roughly, like, I was like, if I was breaking, so my AT is about 540 at the moment, my LT, my zone 4 is about 520, and then I was like, if I can do these at like 5-minute pace or a little bit quicker, so I did them around 73s, 74s, which is a little bit faster than 5-minute miling, but they felt very relaxed. But it's opening up my hips, it's increasing my stride length. But because I was taking 45 seconds recovery between each of them, it wasn't as intense. Okay, so it wasn't like, it wasn't as intense, but the running stride I was able to get on them was was way better. I thought I was able to like move kind of freer. Just going to look up my thing, and I'm just going to show where I have this one. Oh, I just put it as a story, yeah. Fact. But I'll just share here just so you see. This is a similar one. So it just allows you to kind of open up and I'll actually must make this as a post as well. But this is, just get lost with it. It's going to make me log in and all. Yeah, so it just allowed me to open up my hips a little bit more, get moving kind of more towards, like, I'm going to do a couple of 5Ks in a while. So it gets you moving towards the kind of running style you'll have. But my heart rate wasn't more than my AT LT heart rate. Okay, because I'm getting the break. So the actual aerobic benefit is still in that zone. It's not like I'm going into anaerobic because I'm taking, say, 45 seconds. If you think of this as a pace that you could do a 10K in, but you're taking breaks every 45 seconds or every 70, 80 seconds. So it's actually a really good one to add in. So there's a few ways I can do it. If you can get to a track, it's probably the best because it allows you to get very smooth. A lot of times what you'll find is you'll be going faster. If you thought it was 5K, 10K pace, you'll go faster than it actually is. When you're on the track, it feels a lot easier than you think it is. So go at 10K effort. I'd also cap it if my heart rate was going above my zone 4 heart rate. If it's going above LT, I'd actually slow down. So if I'm closer to the end ones, if it's going into LT plus above my zone 4, I'd slow down the reps and keep the recovery roughly the same. If you can't do so, ones you can do on the track would be, like I said, two by a mile, 2 miles or 10 minutes or 12 minutes of like zone 3. Then go into like maybe 10 by 70 or 80 seconds with a 45-second recovery at 10K pace efforts, like 10K effort. Keeping the heart rate shouldn't go up higher. If you're just away from a track, which is most of us, a nice way to do it is, say if you're doing like say 4 by 7 minutes, do 7 minutes as a steady rep, and then do the next rep, try to get the same distance done in the time by doing 1 minute on, 1 minute steady. Okay, so you're just picking it up a bit, you're going a bit faster for that first minute and then a bit slower for the second minute. And what that does is you're still hitting the same, try hit the same distance, picking it up, slowing it down. Try keep the heart rate roughly the same. It'll be kind of more up and down, obviously. But don't have the heart rate sky high. And it just allows you to open up the legs a little bit. So sometimes, especially if you've gotten a habit of just doing the aerobic work, which I just gotten very into aerobic work, you can kind of be neglecting this other element. And it doesn't mean you can still keep developing the aerobic base, but having like shorter reps with a bit of recovery allows you to still hit the aerobic stimulus, so still improve the engine, but allows you also to kind of improve those rhythm and movement mechanics. And I hope with this, what I'm getting across is this isn't speed work. This isn't like you going fast, like 200s or 15-second hills. This is you trying to just get relaxed, moving a little bit faster, but being very relaxed doing it. And then having the 45 seconds recovery where you stay jogging and then just open that up. So it's like that rhythm work. It's like how the first half of a 5K or 10K should feel, where you're running at a kind of faster pace, but you're trying to stay relaxed, as opposed to how the second half should feel, where you're starting to dig in and you're starting to work a bit hard. Okay, so that was the first thing I just wanted to talk about. I don't know if you had any questions or thoughts on that, Dave or Sheila. Does that make sense? You could just be listening. Oh,
yeah, no, that makes sense to me, RJ. I just have one question on it there. Last week I did like 4 by 7 minutes Tuesday evening, and it was about 21 or 2 degrees, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I went this morning and did it, and there was frost on the ground. And like last week when I was finished like my fourth rep, I was in zone 4, heading for zone 5, and this week I was comfortable. Like I was only hitting zone 3
Yeah.
at the end of the reps. Like, is that just down to the heat, like, and
Yeah,
nothing else? Or,
it's yeah, literally down to the heat. So there's a thing called the
right,
dew point. There's two things I want to say there is that's why we do that's why you should heart rate. And if you're doing 4x7, that has to stay at zone 3.
right,
Okay.
okay,
So the idea being you should slow down that rep. So there's a
okay,
few things that are happening, and it's all doing basically with the heat. So you've had more of a cardiac drift than you do. So when you're cool, so obviously the heart rate is sending blood to the muscles, but when it's very warm, and humidity and heat are the two things. So sometimes it's not even that warm, but it's very humid. If the dew point is high, I think it's DEW they call it. It means that like for the increase in heat, there's like a subsequent reduction in performance. I'll try bring that up next week.
okay,
So because it's warm, the blood now has to go to the skin more to try cool you down. So it's bringing, because the blood is hot, it's bringing more blood towards the skin. That's why we get red, because it's trying to like have like air hit that and cool you down. Okay, so now some of the blood is being diverted from the legs, and it has to go to kind of cooling you.
okay,
Also, because you're dehydrated a little bit, because you're sweating more to try cool down, the amount of blood that you have is reduced slightly. Does that make sense? Because you're sweating water out. Where we're getting our water is kind of like from our stores. So like our blood volume is down a little bit. So because the blood volume is down, it's oxygen carrying capacities and stuff is reduced. And so basically we have to pump our heart. The heart has to work harder to get the blood to the muscles to get oxygen to them.
okay.
So all that being said, if you were doing 4x7, you have to like, and that also just happens on a normal day. So what happened to you is what we call cardiac drift. It's where the heart rate is increased at the same, say, pace. Now,
Right,
when you're doing a 4x7, what we're trying to work on is zone 3. Okay, so we're trying to work on that base aerobic zone. And then, as I said, we can work on like our lactic, and then we might do some like minutes on or more like race specific stuff if we're going into that kind of VO2 max work. So that being said, then you need to be like you're actually not. This is the main problem. It's the hardest thing to get around because people can feel like they're soft or they're doing.
yeah. I
I was like,
thought like I was like, what has gone wrong with me? I just couldn't. I
yeah,
was nearly
yeah,
nearly walking there near the end, and I was
yeah,
like,
exactly. And
Jesus.
it's like, well, I
Like,
started these, and these I can normally do it.
yeah,
That's the key with this. It's like you can't. That's not a zone 5 session. That's a zone 3 session. So even though it's slower, like I don't really even look at the pace I'm doing. I'm saying a 540, 520. That'll come when you've developed those bases. So
right,
if you think about it, like what we're trying to do is say this is zone 3. You can like that's why it's a range. You might start the first one here, it drifts, but if you start coming up into here, you have to slow down because the
so,
goal is to get as much time in this zone as we can. Yeah, and that is because of the heat. So it's a dew point. It can reduce because basically some of your resources have to go to cooling you down now versus just all the blood going to the muscles to deliver oxygen
okay,
and fuel. It slows us down. If you're doing a session like that, you need then to slow your heart rate down. Don't worry, it always happens to me. My last rep will be slower. I don't mind. I'm just staying within the heart rate zone.
okay. And I normally go running at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. But then if you're doing a race, like you're 11 or 12 o'clock, and it's
Yeah,
generally maybe 10 degrees warmer than when I'm after doing all of my training, should I be doing something like in more warmer temperatures, like than,
it can help if you could.
right? Okay.
Look, your routine, David. Like it could be like
Yeah.
that. If that's a real awkward thing to do, like to be fair, I do that. Like say we'll work out in the morning, and even if I had an evening race on, I'm just not going to wait around all day. I feel like training's hanging over me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
get like 90% of the benefit. I know like
Okay.
elites would do things of like when they're they knew, like, they thought Paris was going to be warm. Now it was actually quite cold, but so what they would do is they'd go run and then they go into a sauna straight after.
Right.
They wouldn't run in the sauna, but they'd run and they go straight from the run into the sauna. So it's like when they're already like heat deprived, they go in and just sit in there to try to get their body used to, like, when it's tired, to get that adaptation. A lot of them were doing that. It seemed to help with heat. So it could be even a thing if you're in a membership, but I wouldn't overly worry about it. Like, just
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just curious, kind of.
yeah. And then the other thing though, David, is with your heart rate in the morning, don't worry about, like, if it's not like, say conversely, right? Say if you're doing 4x7, if I was doing that 5 or 6 in the morning, I would expect that for the first 7 minutes at least, the heart rate isn't going to come up. So what I would do is, say the last day you did like 4, say you should kind of have an idea of what the pace was.
Yeah, I would. I'd have a rough idea. Yeah.
So just start at that pace. And even if the heart rate is low in the morning, don't worry about that. Wait till at least 2 or wait till at least the second rep in, and maybe even the third rep in. If it's still below that heart rate, then you might push it on a little bit. But really, in the morning, the heart rate can struggle to get up a little bit more, because it's like, you know, your muscles are a little bit more tired. The heart rate isn't as responsive as it normally is. So don't worry if in the first rep, what I'm trying to say there is, don't force the first reps of things if you're working out at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, great questions. Okay, next one then, right? I would like to run in the mountains at least once a week. How do I include that into my marathon training plan? Say one trail run of 10 to 15K with 600 meters elevation. Look, that's fine, right? This would be the same when people I like to do. Oh, sorry, Sheila, do you have any comments on the last thing?
No, I just have a question.
Yeah, fire ahead first.
After I do my long run and my speed work, I come back and I'm fine. I stretch, but once I sit down and I get back up, my right hip, inner thigh is really, really stiff.
Okay.
And after a few minutes of walking, it goes away. But once I sit down again, it's back again.
What stretches do you do?
After running.
Yeah.
I would do where you lift your leg up onto your knee and you
okay, do that figure 4 one. Do you have a massage ball?
I do. A hockey ball.
Yeah, hockey ball. Perfect. So do you know the hip mobility routine? Do you do that beforehand? No,
I've done that last week. Yeah.
How did you find it after that?
Yeah, it was actually all right, and then it just came back. See, it comes and goes. It can go for it disappear for a couple of months, and then it comes back. And I don't know if I'm just not doing the right exercises or stretches.
So there's 2 things I do. I would, look, I'd look at the hip routine, so do the Pilates once a week, and then look at the hip rehab videos. So those 10, that kind of squat shaker one can be good.
Yeah.
Just something to kind of open up the hip again. I'd also do, rather than stretching after, if I was going to spend that time, I just do a little bit of the hockey ball work beforehand. You know, so maybe, I know you're not feeling it running, but at least that'll kind of free you up.
Okay.
So I wouldn't bother stretching after. I would just do that. If I had the time, I do, say if I had 5 minutes, I would do, the hockey ball work in around the hip flexor and the stomach, in around the glutes, or just do that afterwards, just to loosen things up. And then the last thing I look at is sitting on the couch. If it was at all possible, could you lie on the couch?
Okay, I used to lie, and I thought because I was lying, I was getting this, so I stopped lying and I started sitting.
Oh, so it was coming on when you were lying as well?
Yeah. No, I was lying on my side.
Yeah, go back to lie, maybe even just lie on the other side and go back to lying on your back, and let's see how it goes. Just message me then. I feel like if you do those, sometimes, as I said, when we're sitting, it's kind of seizing up a little bit. So I feel like if you can do the massage ball after, just to see if that releases off some tension rather than the stretches. And then, even a little bit of just the squat shakers, just to activate the hips again, might be just tightened up after that. And then lie down maybe on the other side when you're watching TV or chilling out a little bit, and just see if that takes the pressure off.
Okay, perfect.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
you. Sheila. No problem. Okay. So what do we do if we want to include something in our training that's linked, like we like to do, but mightn't be part overall program? So maybe you like to swim, or you cycle, or in this case, you do mountain running. The key thing is, right, I'll always highlight in our programs in yellow the key sessions, and they're generally like a Wednesday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. Now, if you're someone actually for a marathon who is doing like 4.5, 4 hours, 5 hours, a cycle, replacing your long run with a long cycle actually can be a good thing. So that being said, but if it's sub 4 hours, I would be like, you want your long run, you want your you want your Wednesday workout, and you want your Saturday workout. After that, just replace an easy run with so in this case, as long as I just make sure that the mountain running is relatively easy, it should feel like an easy day, and do it instead. So say if you normally go out for another run on Wednesday or on Tuesday or Monday, just do your mountain run instead on that day. And I don't think that'll be an issue, as long as you just keep it easy. The same, some people like, I like to go cycling. It's like, that's fine. The issue can come when people are doing like additional workouts in the other medium. But if you're just replacing the stimulus that you had with the new stimulus, that's absolutely fine. So if the running, say it's the marathon is the goal, and it is your cycling, or you want to do mountain running, you have to decide. It's like, look, doing the marathon is my goal at the moment, so I do need to be doing my running workouts and my long run. And now if I want to get my cycle in, or I want to get my swim in, I can do that instead of maybe one of the easier recovery runs. Because it was a recovery run anyway, I can just put in the mountain run in. And that's what I do. I just go easy in the mountains for your 10 to 15K. If that means that like maybe very steep hills, you're just walking down them, like power walking down them because your calves are getting tight. If the calves aren't getting tight, there's no issue there. But just, yeah, you could add in that. And I'd add it in as an easy run. It's the same when someone says, I like to still swim, or I like to still cycle. I'm like, no problem. As long as you're getting your Wednesday, your Saturday sessions, and your long run, let's do the next day as a swim, or the next day as a cycle. It's actually ideal. And let's replace that. So we were going to do a 50-minute run. So now maybe we do, an hour 20 on the bike, or we do a little bit of a swim session that, like, because it's using our arms more, and it's a bit of recovery. And there's absolutely no issue there. So I think when you do that, you have to have one master for whatever your goal is. And vice versa. Say you're a triathlete and you're like, well, I really want to improve my cycling. Well, then the workouts have to be cycling related, and the running can just be more easy. So you might go running session on Wednesday and a hard cycle session on the Saturday, and you might go and like your longer spin on a Sunday. And then you might have an easy run one of the other days. So the issue becomes when people are trying to do workouts in all the different disciplines, as opposed to having the same structure, like easy days for maybe 2, workout day, easy day, rest day, workout day, long run day, and then including your gym or your Pilates with that. So as long as it's on the easy day, as long as it doesn't affect the structure of the week, there's no problem. If you were saying, oh, well, I do a mountain workout here, I'm like, well, then that is going to take away from the marathon preparation. So that's what I'd say there. And then last question was, oh yeah, perfect, you got that. Sorry, I'm glad I only got that now. So last question was, I'm just going to try find Laurie's question now. Basically, I'm going to just try remind myself if I can find it here. So it's basically like she's doing her first 10K after having issues with the hamstring. She's worried that if you go out too hard in the first race, it could have set back. Yeah, I think it's actually legit, like consideration. Some people are like, oh, just enjoy it. I actually think the first race should be more like, don't take it like you're looking for a PB. Take it that it's like, I'm going to go racing now in 2 weeks and I'm only back, and it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath. But look, I think sometimes if you haven't had track or like workout specific to that. So my examples would, if I was doing a 10K, and I'm not going to get this before my race, if I was doing a 10K, I would try have kind of what we call like tester sessions or tester workouts, which would be like 5 by 1 mile. So 10K is roughly a 6-mile race. So you do 5 by 1 mile at 10K, take 10K, the target 10K pace, and give like 90 seconds recovery. That's getting you used to running at that pace. And that would be a good way of like seeing how the body is responding to you and judging it from there. Okay. So if you haven't done like a kind of tester session, now, if you have done a tester session, say you did it like 10 days out or 2 weeks out and the body is fine after, there's no negative responses, then I'd race. But I'd still go a little bit easier at the start. It should feel comfortable and then build through the field. If you haven't had a chance to do any of those tester sessions and you're unsure of how it will go, let's take it as a really good training workout. So what I would do there instead then is I would really take the first half conservatively. I would like try to have like, okay, the second half has to be faster than the first half. So I like constantly like hold myself back. I wouldn't do it on like heart rate, lactic threshold heart rates. But I do it on like that feel. It should feel just like how a lactic threshold generally feels. And then just gradually build in. And if you can come home nice and strong, like feeling like you're moving well at the end of the race and no issues after, well, that's a big win then, you know? So I think that's what I do. I would go conservative. Like I had a friend and his first race back, he hadn't raced in ages. And we were saying that to him. And it was like, he went out with a group and then he got a little bit giddy. He was close to the lead. He took the lead. He started absolutely lashing like it was a 4-mile race. So he did the first mile with them. He was in the lead in the second mile. He was well in the lead, pushing it for the 3rd mile. And then he kind of like, he actually fell, but it's, you know, he wasn't used to racing. He would have been so much better, even if the time was slower, to stay with them for 3 miles of the 4 miles and then go, when he's feeling very comfortable, okay, now I'll just push on. Now I'll try not even flat out sprint, just like move up the field. And if he had to finish that strong, even if he had to finish in 3rd or 4th, at least he's like, look, got that race in the bag, have got through that distance, body's feeling good. I can target another one now in like say 3 or 4 weeks and be good to go. So that's how I do it. If in general, if people are doing this, I try to get like a target workout 10 days beforehand. For 5K, a target workout is like 4 miles at like between 5K and 10K pace. Don't do it at 5K pace. That's too hard. Or you might do 4 by K at 5K pace if you're doing that, off 2 minutes recovery for that session. And then for 10K, the key one we would do is 5 by a mile off about 90 seconds at 10K pace. And if your body's holding up on that, I would just race normally. Always better off in a race, going a bit slower at the start, trying to feel relaxed, and then building through. You get a lot of momentum cutting through people rather than going too fast at the start. If you haven't had a chance to do that kind of session, take your first race as a way of like easing back into training. Set like, you know, especially the first half, set a time that's like very achievable. So I'm going through constantly slower, and then remind yourself of that after the race. Don't be like, oh God, I was a lot slower than the last. No, the goal of this is to get through the distance, feel strong, finish with like good technique, finish with good form, running faster on the way home, and then waking up the next day and still feeling good. And that's going to give you confidence then that you can kind of more attack this next race. And if you've been out of racing for a while, it also give you better like race pace judgment. Because if you, and especially the person who's asking me about this, she has a tendency to go very fast at the start. Just like my friend, he has a tendency to go like a lunatic in the middle, start and middle of the race. So actually just as race tactics, it'd be better of being very controlled for at least kind of 3/4 of the race, and then picking it up in the last quarter. And I'd recommend that again. If you got through the first race, then when you start the next one, you're like, yeah, this feels about right, or this is a little bit faster than the last day, which will be perfect. If you don't have that, people can get a little bit like scared of what like 10K should feel like and maybe go way too fast. Okay, brilliant. Short and sweet. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Any questions that you have, keep them coming in, and really enjoy that. Thanks again. Thanks, David. Thanks, everybody.